Hello YouTubers! Welcome to Big Buddha is Watching. I'm Big Buddha. I got the name of the channel right this time. Any of you watching the last video, which is as of late still nobody, but maybe that'll change one day. Yeah, it was Big Buddha Sees All last time. So I've got to remember, is watching. That's the name of the channel. I don't see all, I watch. Okay. Today I'm going to be looking at a film I saw for the first time the other night called Mother India. And as soon as I saw this film, I knew I had to comment on it because you're annoying. Because this film is regarded as being a classic of Indian cinema, and that's how I will refer to it from this point on. Indian cinema, most commonly referred to or nicknamed Bollywood. I think because the films were primarily produced in Bombay, so the nickname stuck. Of course, it's not called Bombay anymore, so Mollywood, whatever. Indian cinema. Okay. Yeah. So Mother India. I wanted to look at because well, for two reasons. I think. I thought this film was absolutely incredible. It really blew me away. I've seen sort of, I guess, not every. I've seen most films now that people regard as being the classics, the ones that have the real power of cinema. At least I thought it did. I mean, the ones that Hollywood have produced specifically. And watching this film really blew me away in a way that I haven't experienced watching a film for a long while. And it kind of made me realise that in the West we have a very blinkered view of cinema and and we tend to think that the only things worth watching, the only things that we're going to be able to relate to are Hollywood movies and what's perceived in the West as being, the big important movies. I'm starting to discover more and more world cinema now, and it's really starting to open my eyes to the fact that there's probably vast waves of films out there that I haven't given the time of day to. Just because they're not revered in the West. I mean, I've looked through old film guides and any sort of movie-based encyclopedias that I've had, and there's very little mention of Indian cinema, or that you get the odd token mention of films of world cinema. In those things, but they're very, very sort of Hollywood centric, as in that's the big. I mean, don't get me wrong, Hollywood is a very important part in the story of film, but it's not the be all and end all. So I want to certainly highlight things on this channel that I think need highlighting, and Mother India is definitely something that doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Certainly not in the US or the UK. So Just to give you a bit of background, so the film was made in 1957. It was directed by. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of these names. It's. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just. Well, you know, if you've seen any of my other videos, what a cottonmouth I am. The film is directed by Mehboob Khan, and it stars Nargis as the central character, the Mother India of the character. It was a remake of a black and white film that he made in 1940. The same director, called Aurat, which I believe means woman in India. This is a colour remake, and I think it's widely considered to be the better movie and more epic in scope. The basic plot revolves around Nargis's character, Radha. She is a mother of three. She toils the fields in India, and she has a husband, but he is sort of written out of the story about sort of the third of the way through the narrative. I think he feels sort of unwanted, and then he gets his arms crushed and he's crippled, so he can't toil the fields anymore. So he leaves the film, and he leaves her. He leaves Radha to raise their three sons. She is in debt to a local moneylender. Lots of hardships befall her. This is, she's not given a good time in this film. There's famine, so the crops don't grow. There's floods. One of her youngest son, the baby, dies, and she's at a very low point. About halfway point, she considers prostituting herself to the moneylender so he'll let her off the debt. Then she decides, no, I'm a stronger figure than that. So she decides to carry on toiling in the fields with her two sons, raises them to be young men, and then the film cuts forward a few years, so about 10 years, to when the two boys are in early manhood, and basically one of them chooses the straight path, and one of them goes a bit wayward. There's a very oversimplification of the plot, and I don't want to reveal too much after there, because wow, the last 20 minutes of this film really sort of blew me away in the way the narrative goes, and just the overall themes that it encompasses. Motherhood, the slight Oedipal overtones. So that probably makes it sound like it's going to go the way. It doesn't go that way, but I think some scholars have read that into the subtext of the film. Just on an interesting note, the reason he changed the title of the film from Aurat, which is the original, to Mother India, was in response to a book that was written in the 20s by a woman called Catherine Mayo, which was a very controversial book in India, because she was a British colonial at the time, and she really wrote this book called Mother India, which was just a massive diatribe against the cult, the nation of India, the country as a whole, its politics, its what she saw as being the negative aspects. and Mehmood Khan decided to call this film Mother India. I mean, the title totally works because it's about an Indian mother. But it had, the title Mother India has that very sort of epic quality to it. But also he wanted to take the title back and produce something that was a positive statement about India. Much the same way recently there was a film called The Birth of a Nation that came out. Of course, the famous D.W. Griffiths film from I think like 1915, the silent movie, was condemned for being it's now largely condemned for being very racist. It makes the Ku Klux Klan into the heroes at the end of the film. So, but the recent Birth of a Nation isn't a remake, but it's a film about a slave revolt, I believe. I haven't seen it yet. But the idea with taking a title back that has negative connotations is it can be a very powerful one. I mean, I really wanted to highlight this film because, like I say, I mean it's it's an absolute masterpiece. It's apparently, all Indian films that came after Mother India owes a big debt to this. It's, I mean, the themes in it are, I think, are universal. It's the classic epic story of toil and struggle and overcoming massive adversity. Of course, it has it has all the cliches of Indian cinema. It's the best part of 3 hours, and you could I mean, if you cut out all the dance sequences, it would be a conventional 2 hour narrative like we're used to seeing in the West. But it's so bright and vibrant. Something I picked up on it is he seems to. I mean, the characters go through immense hardship, and in this film, and you get scenes that you wouldn't have got in Hollywood cinema at the time. And I think story beats that Hollywood would have shied away from. The death of a child. There's scenes of marijuana smoking in this film. You certainly wouldn't have got that at the time. It's. I mean, it hasn't got the polish of. Like a 1950s musical, it's a bit rough around the edges, but understandably so. I think that makes the film feel maybe not realistic's the word, but it feels authentic, despite being a musical. And the musical sequences in this, all right, they're probably dated by today's standards, but they're great. They're up there with what Hollywood was producing at the time. I know I keep comparing it to Hollywood, but that obviously, like being a Western film fan, that's my. I guess that's my only point of reference. That's something I hope to rectify in the future. There's scenes in this that are so bright and vibrant. Not just the dance numbers, but the more action oriented scenes. There's a scene. Like the flood scene halfway through, where the mother and the children get caught in it, is it kind of comes out of nowhere, but yeah, a real sense of peril. The same at the end. There's a scene where she's trying to find her son because he's hiding because he's been chased by the locals in the village, and he's hiding in some bales of wheat, and they set fire to the wheat, and all of a sudden the whole field's on fire, and it's the the flames, you can feel them crackling around you. It really pops with vibrancy, and then the end. I mean the whole narrative sort of culminates in such a kicker, and it ends with the central character. I keep forgetting her name. Sorry, Radha, holding a gun and a rifle, and this is apparently like one of the most iconic images in Indian cinema. This is what would you compare it to? Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh holding each other. Clint Eastwood holding his Magnum. It's probably one of those images we've probably all seen in our local Indian restaurant or takeaway, but not realised its significance before now. So that's that's Mother India. I mean, all I can say is leave your preconceptions at the door about Indian cinema, and I'm really not a big enough expert on the on Hindi films at all to say start checking them out, but I'd say definitely check this one out. I mean, it's if you're going to start anywhere, start with this film. It may sound like I'm over enthusiastic, but I truly believe this is one of the finest pieces of cinema I've ever seen in my life. It truly is a masterpiece, and I think films like this need to be highlighted more in the West and to be seen, which is why I'm gonna give this one another 5 stars. So there you go, Mother India. Check it out. That's it for my review. Just to say, any more information on the channel? I know this one's going to come in at under 20 minutes. I think 33 minutes seems to be the cut-off point with this phone. There's no way of going beyond that yet. So we'll whether that'll change in the future, who knows? At the moment, I'm happy just to keep this format and try and just chug more as many of these out as I can, and maybe in the future we'll see about refining these a bit more. Just a quick note about I only discovered the other day that Big Buddha apparently is a strain of marijuana. All I can say is I had no idea when I picked the name. I picked it because of the Buddhist connotations and the Orwellian connotations as well. So before you go around saying, "Oh, this guy, he gets stoned and reviews all these films," so that's not actually the case. That's not me. Well, not anymore. It isn't. So that's that. So yeah, I think that's everything. Like I say, Mother India, 5 star, another 5 stars from me, and this is me, Big Buddha, signing off. See you next time, folks.